My husband's sister uninvited me to her birthday party because I'm too fat to fit her aesthetic. My husband said, she's just brutally honest. So I left, hit the gym, and came back 6 months later, modeling her ex's clothing line. Wait, you're dating him now? She choked as the cameras flashed. I was standing in my kitchen, still in my work clothes, scrolling through my phone while waiting for my tea to steep, when I saw a text notification pop up. It was from my sister-in-law, Bianca. I frowned. Bianca and I weren't exactly close. She tolerated me more than anything, and I returned the favor. She was the kind of woman who spent hours curating her Instagram aesthetic, making sure every post fit a specific color scheme, and treating life like one big photo shoot. Still, I wasn't expecting this text. Bianca, hey, just a heads up, I think it's best if you skip my birthday party this year. I stared at my phone. I had been invited weeks ago. In fact, Bianca had mentioned the party at a family gathering, all smiles and fake enthusiasm, saying it was going to be an exclusive, elegant event. She had even specified a dress code. I quickly typed back, "Me, why? Did something happen?" A few seconds later, the 3 dots appeared. Then her response came. "Bianca, nothing personal. Just trying to keep a certain aesthetic this year. You know, clean, chic, modern vibes. I want all my guests to complement the decor and, well, you get it." I did not get it. My stomach twisted as I read her message again. Was she seriously saying what I thought she was saying? "Me, are you saying I don't fit your aesthetic?" This time, the response took longer. Then, finally, "Bianca, you've always been a little fuller. Which is fine. But I have a vision, and I need everything to look cohesive. Fuller." She really meant fatter. I felt heat rise to my face as I reread the words. My hands clenched around my phone. Aesthetic? Cohesive? She was talking about her family. About me. Like I was some oversized piece of furniture that wouldn't match her carefully designed living room. I stormed into the living room, where my husband, Damien, was stretched out on the couch, half watching a basketball game. "Your sister just uninvited me from her birthday party," I said, holding up my phone like evidence in a courtroom. Damien barely looked up. "Why?" I took a deep breath, willing myself to stay calm. "Because I don't fit her aesthetic." That got his attention, sort of. He turned his head slightly, giving me a lazy glance. "What do you mean?" I tossed my phone onto the coffee table. "She said she wants the party to have a cohesive look, and apparently, I don't match. Do you know how insane that sounds?" Damien sighed, rubbing his temples like I was the one being difficult. "Look, Bianca's always been brutally honest. She probably didn't mean it to be rude." I let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, so calling your brother's wife too fat to be seen at her party isn't rude?" "She didn't say that," he argued, picking up my phone and skimming the messages. When he finished, he tossed it back on the table and shrugged. "That's just Bianca," he said. "She says what she thinks. Don't take it personally." I felt like I had been slapped. "So that's it? You're just okay with this?" "It's just a party," he muttered, turning back to the game. I stared at him, feeling something in me snap. It wasn't just about Bianca. It was about him. About the way he always defended her, always downplayed her insults, always expected me to be the bigger person while she got away with being a condescending witch. I thought about all the times I had smiled through Bianca's subtle jabs at my weight, my job, my clothes. All the times Damien had stayed silent while his sister humiliated me in front of their family. And now? Now, I was done. I grabbed my purse and coat. "Where are you going?" Damien asked, finally looking actually concerned. "Out," I said shortly. And then I left. For the first few weeks, I stayed with my best friend, Natalia. She didn't ask too many questions, but when I finally told her everything, she nearly threw her wine glass at the wall. "You should have punched that entitled little brat," she fumed. Tempting, I admitted. "You know what you should do?" she said, narrowing her eyes. "Revenge body. Hit the gym, get in insane shape, and make Bianca choke on her own words." At first, I laughed it off. But that night, lying in bed, I thought about it. Not just because of Bianca, but because of me. I had spent so long hating my body, shrinking myself, feeling like I wasn't good enough. Screw that. The next morning, I walked into a gym and signed up. 6 months passed. And let me tell you something, I worked my ass off. At first, it was about the anger. Every mile I ran, every weight I lifted, I was fueled by the humiliation of that text message, by the memory of Damien's shrug. But after a while, I stopped thinking about them. I started loving the way I felt. Strong. Powerful. Like I was in control of my life for the first time in years. And then, one day, fate handed me the perfect opportunity. I met Emilio. Yes, that Emilio, Bianca's ex-boyfriend. The one she had dumped years ago because, according to her, he wasn't ambitious enough for her. Now, he owned a rising streetwear brand. And when I ran into him at a cafe, he barely recognized me at first. "Holy," he said, his eyes widening. "Is that you?" I grinned. "It's me. You look incredible," he said, giving me a once-over. Then he hesitated. "Listen, I have a crazy idea. I'm launching a new clothing line, and I need models who radiate confidence. Your confidence. Would you be interested?" Would I be interested? I nearly laughed out loud. Not only was I interested, I was about to turn Bianca's entire world upside down. 6 months after she uninvited me to her party, I made my grand return. Not at her birthday party. At a major industry event, as Emilio's date and the face of his new brand. The moment I stepped onto the red carpet, cameras flashing, I spotted Bianca across the room. She turned, saw me, and froze. Her eyes darted between me and Emilio, then back to me. I could see the horror sinking in, the slow realization of what had just happened. Her voice came out in a choked whisper. "Wait, you're dating him now?" I just smiled as the cameras continued to flash. Bianca's face was priceless. For the first time since I had known her, she looked completely, utterly speechless. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. She blinked rapidly, like she was trying to process the situation, like her brain simply refused to accept the reality standing right in front of her. And honestly, I loved every second of it. Emilio, completely oblivious to the silent war Bianca was waging in her head, leaned in close and whispered, "You okay?" I turned to him with a slow, deliberate smile. "Never better." He grinned, wrapping an arm around my waist as we moved further into the venue. I felt Bianca's eyes burning into my back, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of looking back. Let her stew. Let her feel what it was like to be the one left out. The event was a big deal, fashion industry people, influencers, media. Emilio's brand was gaining serious attention, and tonight was about celebrating the launch of his newest line. The same line I had modeled for. As we mingled, people kept coming up to me, complimenting my look, asking about my involvement with Emilio's brand. And every time I laughed, every time I smiled for the cameras, I knew Bianca was watching. And then, because the universe really was on my side tonight, Bianca's mother walked in. Camila Reyes was a force of nature. A high society woman with a sharp tongue and even sharper instincts. She had never outright disliked me, but she had always treated me like an outsider. Like I wasn't quite good enough for her son's world. But tonight, her eyes lit up when she saw me. "Darling," she said, air kissing my cheek like we were long-lost best friends. "You look absolutely radiant." I smiled. "Thank you, Camilla. You look stunning, as always." She squeezed my hands, her gaze flicking to Emilio. "And you too." What a surprise. Emilio chuckled. "Good to see you, Mrs. Reyes." "Please," she said, waving a hand. "Call me Camilla. After all, we're practically family, aren't we?" I felt Bianca's sharp intake of breath from across the room. I turned slightly, just enough to catch her expression. Pure, unfiltered. Rage. She stormed toward us, drink still clutched in her manicured hand, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. "What is going on here?" she hissed, her voice just low enough that only the three of us could hear. Camilla raised an elegant brow. "Bianca, don't be rude. We're just having a lovely conversation." Bianca's gaze snapped to Emilio, then to me. "Since when are you two a thing?" I tilted my head, feigning innocence. "Oh, Emilio and I? We reconnected a while ago." "Funny how life works, huh?" Her nostrils flared. "This is a joke, right? You're using him to get back at me." I raised an eyebrow. "For what?" Her mouth opened. Closed. She knew she couldn't say it out loud. She couldn't admit that she had humiliated me, that she had uninvited me from her party because she thought I was too fat to be seen with her. Instead, she turned to Emilio. "Seriously? Her?" Emilio's easy smile disappeared. His dark eyes locked onto hers, and for the first time, I saw something in them that I had never noticed before: contempt. "You know," he said casually, "this is why we never worked out, Bianca. You've always been obsessed with appearances. With status. With aesthetics." Bianca's face turned red. "Oh, please. You were the one who couldn't keep up. That's why we broke up, remember?" Emilio just laughed. "Right. And yet, here I am. Doing just fine." I smiled sweetly. "More than fine, actually." Bianca's grip tightened around her glass. "This is ridiculous. Damien needs to know about this." Damien. I hadn't thought about him all night. Not once. And that was the moment I realized just how far I had come. 6 months ago, his opinion would have mattered to me. I would have worried about what he thought, how he felt, what he would say. But now? Now, I didn't care. Not one bit. I shrugged. Go ahead. Call him. Bianca blinked, clearly not expecting that response. And then, like clockwork, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my clutch, glancing at the screen. Damien. Bianca smirked. Oh, look at that. He's already calling. I wonder what he'll think about all of this. I exhaled slowly, my fingers hovering over the screen. Then, with the most effortless motion in the world, I declined the call. Bianca's smirk faltered. I smiled. Guess we'll never know. And then I turned back to the party, leaving Bianca standing there, speechless, as cameras continued to flash around me. Bianca was fuming. I could practically hear her teeth grinding, her fingers twitching around the stem of her champagne glass as she tried to process what had just happened. She wasn't used to this, to being the one left out of the loop, the one caught off guard. And honestly, watching her unravel was delicious. Emilio leaned down and murmured, "You want to get some air?" I nodded, letting him guide me away, his hand warm on the small of my back. The second we stepped out onto the rooftop balcony, a cool breeze wrapped around us and I let out a slow breath. That went well, Emilio said dryly, sliding his hands into his pockets. I laughed, shaking my head. You think? He grinned. Bianca's never been good at hiding her emotions. That's why it was always so easy to piss her off. I turned to him, arching an eyebrow. And why, exactly, did you date her for 2 years? He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. She wasn't always like that. Or maybe she was, and I was just too blind to see it. She liked control, though. She liked feeling like she had the upper hand. And when she dumped me, I figured fine. Good riddance. I studied his face. There was no bitterness there. Just acceptance. Like he had moved on a long time ago. And that was the difference between him and me. Because even though I had worked my A off to become someone better, even though I had built myself back up piece by piece, part of me still wanted Bianca to feel what I had felt. I wasn't quite as over it as I wanted to be. Hey, Emilio said, nudging me gently. Don't let her get to you. I blinked up at him. I'm not. He gave me a look. You're clenching your jaw so hard I can hear your teeth grinding. Damn it. I exhaled, loosening my shoulders. I want her to understand what it feels like. She won't, he said simply. People like her? They don't change. They just shift the blame onto someone else. I frowned, knowing he was probably right. But before I could say anything, the balcony door swung open. And there he was. Damien. For a moment, neither of us moved. He just stood there, wearing that same tailored suit he always wore to corporate events, his dark eyes locked onto mine. Then, slowly, he stepped forward. Can we talk? I crossed my arms. Did Bianca send you out here? His jaw tensed. No. I came on my own. I glanced at Emilio. He took the hint immediately. I'll give you 2 a minute, he said, squeezing my hand before slipping back inside. Damien watched him go, then turned back to me. So, him? Really? I tilted my head. Why do you care? He let out a low, humorless laugh. Are you serious? You disappear for 6 months and then you show up here on his arm, acting like you're some brand new person. I stared at him. I am a brand new person. His eyes flickered, just for a second. You didn't even tell me where you were going. Would you have even cared? He stepped closer. Of course I cared, Elise. I came home that night and you were gone. No note. No explanation. Just gone. I inhaled sharply, memories rushing back. That night. The way I had packed my bag, feeling like something inside me had finally snapped. The way he had shrugged off Bianca's insults like they were nothing. The way I had finally realized that I deserved more. You never chased me, I said quietly. He blinked. You say you cared, I continued, but you never called. You never showed up. You never asked me to come home. His throat bobbed. I thought you needed space. I let out a soft, bitter laugh. No, Damien. You were relieved. Because as long as I was gone, you didn't have to choose between me and your family. His expression hardened. That's not fair. Isn't it? I challenged. Your sister humiliated me. You let it happen. And when I finally left, you let that happen too. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I never wanted to hurt you, Elise. Then why did you? Silence. The wind rustled around us and I realized something. He wasn't sorry. Not really. He was here because he didn't like losing. Because for the first time, he was the one left behind. I shook my head. I deserve better. His jaw clenched. Better than me? I met his gaze, steady and unwavering. Yes. And then I turned and walked back inside, leaving Damien standing there in the cold. Inside, Emilio was waiting. The moment I stepped back into the warmth of the party, he was by my side, his eyes searching mine. "Everything good?" he asked softly. I exhaled. "Yeah. I think I just closed a door." He studied me for a moment, then smiled. "Good. Now let's go open some better ones." I grinned, letting him pull me back into the crowd, into the flashing lights, into a future that, finally, felt like mine. But I had one more confrontation left. Because I wasn't finished with Bianca. Not yet. I wasn't done with Bianca. Not even close. Because as much as I had moved on, as much as I had built myself into someone new, there was still one final thing I needed to do. I needed to make sure she understood that I wasn't just passing through her world anymore. I was here to stay. And she was going to feel it. As Emilio and I made our way through the party, I could sense Bianca watching me. I could practically hear the gears in her head turning, trying to figure out how this had happened, how I had gone from the woman she dismissed to the one standing in the very spotlight she had always claimed for herself. She was waiting for me to approach her, waiting for me to say something. So, of course, I took my time. I laughed with the designers who had praised Emilio's work, nodded along to conversations about fashion trends and branding. I let my presence linger, a reminder that I wasn't some outsider anymore. And then, finally, I turned. Bianca was standing near the bar, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her nails digging into her own skin. Waiting. I didn't rush. I walked up slowly, taking in the way her lips pressed into a thin line, the way her carefully curated mask was starting to crack. "Elise," she said stiffly. "Bianca." A long silence stretched between us. She shifted her weight, eyes darting to the cameras that were still flashing around the room. "So," she said, forcing a tight smile. "What is this? Some kind of revenge stunt?" I let out a soft laugh. "You really think everything is about you, don't you?" Her eyes flashed. "Don't act like this isn't intentional." I shrugged. The only thing intentional was me choosing to walk away from people who never valued me. Everything else? That was just a natural consequence. Her nostrils flared slightly, but she kept her expression neutral. "You think you're better than me now?" I tilted my head. "No. I think I was always better than the way you treated me." Her throat bobbed, and for a split second, I saw something: uncertainty. Not guilt. Not remorse. But for the first time, I think she realized that she had lost something. That maybe, just maybe, she had underestimated me. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice just enough so only she could hear. "You should have just let me come to the party." And with that, I walked away. She didn't follow. She just stood there, frozen, as I stepped back into the world she had once tried to keep me out of. But this time, I belonged. And she knew it. Bianca didn't chase after me. She didn't try to argue, didn't throw one of her trademark tantrums, didn't hurl some last-minute insult to try and regain control of the situation. Because she couldn't. She had already lost. And the best part? I didn't have to do anything except be here. Successful. Thriving. Untouchable. That was the best revenge. Not insults, not public humiliation, just proving that I was everything she thought I couldn't be. Everything she had tried to make me believe I wasn't. I had taken away the one thing Bianca always had over me: power. And now? Now, I had all the power in the world. And she knew it. Still, I wasn't quite finished. I didn't want to destroy Bianca. That would be too easy, too temporary. I wanted something better. I wanted her to remember this moment forever. So, I did what I had never done before. I forgave her. Not out loud, not in some dramatic speech, but in my own way. In my own time. I turned back, just as she finally started to move, just as she picked up a glass of champagne and lifted it to her lips, like she needed something to keep herself steady. And then, I raised my own glass. Not in a toast. Not as an olive branch. Just as a simple, wordless acknowledgement that this was over. That I had won. Her eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, she hesitated. Then, slowly, she lifted her glass, mirroring my motion. Not in surrender. Not in friendship. But in understanding. Because deep down, she knew what I knew. She would never be able to undo this night. She would never be able to rewrite the story in her favor. She would never be able to look at me again without remembering this moment, the moment I stepped out of the shadows she tried to keep me in. The moment I became untouchable. And as I turned away, walking back into the world that now belonged to me, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Peace. Because I had already won. And Bianca? She would have to live with that. Forever.